Okay, and we're back to talk a little bit more about fractions. We've talked about different ways to represent them so far. We've looked at them in number form, as words, as a picture, as items that are part of a group. And now we're also going to take a look at representing them on a number line. So here are some number lines we might know. So just think about some things that we see on the number lines that they have in common. And also take notice of what are some of the intervals that we see them count by. Here we can see they're counting by ones. Ones here also. Looks like these are counting by twos. These are counting by, looks like 20. And here we can see that not all number lines have to start at 0. For us, go back here. Some things we need to look at are our number lines are pretty much always going to be smaller than 1. And lots of the number lines are going to go from 0 to 1. So here's an example. The numerator represents the parts of the whole, or in this case, how many tick marks on the number line we've counted. Okay? So the numerator, this is the right now, if you think about this, I kind of like to think about it as a guy starting a race. And this is the starting line. So far, this could be the distance he's traveled. He hasn't traveled anywhere yet. So he's traveled like 0 feet, 0 inches. He hasn't moved. But here he's traveled 1/2 of the distance, and here he's traveled 2/2, or he's traveled the whole way. The denominator represents the number of segments that make up the whole. So we'll look at that here. 2 is the denominator, so there's 2 segments, 1, 2. Or you might think about 2 spaces that represent the whole. So 2 makes up the denominator. Here are a couple fraction number lines, and I'm going to label these so we can figure out what fractions are being represented. First thing I need to think about is how many segments. So I'll count 1, 2, 3 spaces. So that means my denominator is always going to be over 3. And next, I think most of my number lines are going to go from 0 to a whole. So I'm going to think this is 0 thirds, 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. One way to double check yourself is if you start at 0 and end at 1 whole where your numerator and denominator are the same, you set up your number line the correct way. Now I'm going to look at what point is being represented, and I can see right here it corresponds to this fraction. So the number line that the fraction this number line represents is 1/3. I'll look at this one and count the segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If there are 6 segments, that means my denominator will be 6. Every time it's going to be 6. Now I'm going to think, I'm always going to start at 0 and just count up. Now remember my little hint here is if I'm starting at 0 and I'm ending at 1 whole, then I know I've set it up correctly because my numerator and denominator are the same and they ended on the last tick mark. Now I'm just going to count and see. This point corresponds to this fraction, so this number line represents the fraction 4/6. One other little tip when I'm doing something like this is, sometimes if I have a lot of fractions, I might think of only numbering every other one. And let me make sure I can still figure out what any other points are. So for example, this point does not have a label, but if it's 1 more than 4 and 1 less than 6, it must be 5/6. So even if it's not labeled, I can still figure it out. Okay, I'll do the same thing again here. 1, 2, 3, 4 segments. So this one must be 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. Start at a 0, end at 1 whole. My number or fraction being represented is 2/4. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces or 10 segments. That means my first fraction is going to be 0/10. I'll go ahead and skip one, do 2/10, 4/10, 6/10, 8/10, and 10/10, or 1 whole. And I'll think here, even though it doesn't have a fraction, I see it's 1 greater than 6/10, 1 less than 8/10. The number being represented must be 7/10. One other thing, here I was supposed to identify the fractions. Here, I'm going to represent the fraction. So they're telling me the fraction is 1/4. Now I need to give it to them on a number line. So I'm going to think 1/4. That means I need 4 spaces or 4 segments. So I'm going to give myself 4 spaces. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll double check. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Okay. And I'll go ahead and do 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. Start at 0, end at 1 whole, and my denominator matches the number of segments. The last thing I need to do is place a point on 1/4. So here's my point. 1/4 is represented on that number line. Look at another one. 2/5. I'm thinking 5 is my denominator. That means I need 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 0/5, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. If you start at 0, end at 1 whole, and you have the same number of segments as your denominator, it's most likely correct. All I need to do is add a point on 2/5. There it is. I'll do one more, 3/3. Thirds, number of spaces, number of segments. So that's 1, 2, 3. 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Start at 0, end at 1 whole. Make sure my denominator matches the 1, 2, 3 number of segments. Looks like I'm good. I'll just add a point here on 3/3. Here are a couple more number lines that don't have labels, and their fractions they need to be represented there. So if you wanted to work those out on a piece of scratch paper, you could. Just remember the tips from before. We'll go ahead. And now what we're going to try and do is be able to represent our fractions 3 different ways. In numbers, as a picture, and on a number line. So I'll reveal my fraction. It's 3/5, so I'm going to write it as 3/5. I'm going to partition this into 5 different sections. I need to count and double check. It's fifths, that means 5, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have all my parts. I'm just going to make sure I shade it just enough so we can tell that 3 of them are shaded in. Next, I'll do a number line. I need 5 segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll start out with 0/5, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5 or 1 whole. And I'm just going to need to put a point here on 3/5. So again, 3/5, 3/5, 3/5, and 3/5. The same fraction represented 4 different ways. Let's look at one more. 4/6, so I'll think about that. 4/6, and I need 6 parts, so I'm going to divide it in half, and then divide each half into thirds, which is going to give me 6 total, but I'll double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to shade in 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And last we'll do a number line. I need 6 spaces or segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I don't have a whole lot of space here, so I think I'll only label every other. 0/6, 2/6, 4/6, 6/6. And I'll make sure to put a label here on 1, 2, 3, 4. Double check it every time. Looks good. Okay, I'm going to go over a couple of the sections on our class worksheet just so we can have some correct examples. Starting out simple, what fraction of the fruit is apples? So I'm going to look for the apples. Looks like there's 4 apples out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total pieces of fruit. What fraction is bananas? 2 out of 6. Starting out simple. Next, let's look here. What fraction of the animals represents the cats? So I'm going to look and say, looks like there are 2 cats out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 animals. So 2/7 of them are cats. The next is describe how likely someone is to choose a cat. So I'm going to think about my options are likely, unlikely, certain, or impossible. Out of those choices, it's not certain, it's not impossible they have a chance, so it's either likely or unlikely. I don't think 2, usually I kind of think about it like rounding. If it's more than half, it's probably likely. In this situation, it seems unlikely. Looking at 4, what fraction represents the dogs? 1, 2, 3. That's 3/7. Again, 3 out of 7 seems like less than half, so I'm going to say again, it's unlikely. What fraction of the animals is not cats or dogs? Well, I'm going to think these 2 are not cats or dogs, so that's 2/7. But then I'll look at this question. How likely is someone to choose a bird? Well, looks like there's 0 birds there. So out of this group, it's going to be impossible for them to choose a bird. Okay, we'll just label these 2 number lines, and first thing I'm going to do is just count. 1, 2, 3 segments. That means my denominator is 3. Always start at 0 because we haven't moved any at this point. 1, 2, 3. So the fraction is 2/3. Remember, number the tick marks. I did that. And I'll show the number. I'll go ahead and show the number of segments. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 segments. Okay. What fraction is on this number line? Well, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. So 6 is my denominator. And the fraction being represented is 2/6. Okay, looking at the bottom of our sheet, we're going to represent fractions 3 different ways: as a number, as a picture, and on a number line. The first one we're going to look at is 1/2. So as a number, 1/2 or 1/2. As a picture, again, I like to give myself squares or rectangles, split it into 2 parts, and I'll shade in 1 out of 2 or 1/2. Last is a number line. I only need 2 sections, 2 spaces. So here's 1, here's 2. This is 0/2. Here's 1/2. Here's 2/2. And here's my point. Looking at the next one, 4/5, I'll represent it as a number. I'll go ahead and make myself a shape. I need 5 spaces or 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll shade in 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And last I'll do a number line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0/5, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. And my point needs to go on 4/5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last one here, 3/3. 3 is my numerator, thirds is a denominator. I'm thinking I need 3 spaces, and 3 of them should be filled in. 3/3. Same thing on a number line. I need 3 spaces or 3 segments. 1, 2, 3. 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. Here's my point on 3/3. If you have that homework sheet, you can go ahead and try that out. Refer back to the video, refer back to your classwork side for any questions. And that's the end of our video.